if you can imagine a time when we couldn't predict the weather, we wouldn't know if the rain would come or the dry spell would come. Now, looking at that, you realize there's a problem, because if you don't know when the rains come, then you cannot eat. And if you cannot eat, you cannot be productive in any way. So it was imperative, or it was very important for us to predict the weather, understand the climate, and get to know what seasons are there around the world or around the places that we live in. But then there's also another strange thing. Just like the weather and seasons, humans also have seasons of their own. If you look at society, if you look at the collective mood of our people, then you're going to realize that this keep shifting from time to time. There are times people are happy, there are times people are sad, there are times people are moody and hopeful, and there are times when they are disappointed yet sympathetic. So, do seasons of the weather affect us? Do they affect our moods? Do they affect our thinking? And do they affect how we relate with each other?
There's a topic in geography on weather and seasons. Seasons like winter, spring, autumn, and summer are best explained through observation of the weather all year long. For years, humans have been studying the heavens to know in advance if tomorrow would rain. And with sophisticated scientific theories, they've now been able to predict the weather, sometimes controlling it to their advantage. During the month of December, starting with the Western countries that are north of the equator, December marks a shift from winter to spring. This is where the sun gets more time, i.e. the days are starting to get longer, unlike during winter where nights are longer.
So then, let's go back to the festive season. It was December and Santa Claus was everywhere, sharing kindness with everyone. But then, if you really looked at where Santa was, we had snow. So that's winter. So let's go to that part. How does Kenya and that region that gets snow relate? Because we don't have Santa, we don't have snow, but yet we celebrated Christmas with Santa.
Good question. In light of climate change, the known climate, region Kenya used to be characterized by a double maxima rainfall pattern. And the two rainy seasons, the heaviest rains, called masika, usually fall from mid-March to May, and a shorter period of rain, called vuli, occurs in November and December. Also, Kenya has two main seasons, wet and dry. The seasons are distinguished by the length of rainfall rather than temperature changes. Kenya's dry seasons are December to March, the country's summertime, July to October, the country's winter. Kenya's rainy seasons are April to June, the long rains, October to December, the short rains. The winds determine the onset of Kenya's rainy seasons, kaskazi, northeasterly winds. A hot northeast monsoon that blows dry air in from the Persian Gulf from November to March-April. Kusi, a warm, moist monsoon that blows in from the southeast from April-May to October.
Where I come from, Giriama sasa, watu wanasema vuri, mvula za vuri. This is mvua sasa za vuri. So I'm telling myself, kama Kiswahili anaita vuri, hata hawakufanya anything that will change your name. But the original inventors of that word. But then, in December, we had a very tough time in Kenya because we had El Nino rains all over. And I'm not sure if El Nino rains are a definition or can be defined by short rains, because short rains kidogo green tutembe tupate hata mboga, but sasa zikiwa mingi kama El Nino, now I fail to understand how is El Nino related to, the seasons and everything.
The recent El Niño rains in Kenya in 2023 have been a significant factor in causing the devastating flooding. The Intertropical Convergence Zone, ITCZ, is fundamentally intertwined with the behavior of the El Niño Southern Oscillation, ENSO. That's great. The Intertropical Convergence Zone, ITCZ, is a region near the equator where the trade winds of the Northern and Southern Hemispheres come together. It is characterized by low pressure and is a belt of converging trade winds and rising air that encircles the Earth near the equator. The intense sun and warm water of the equator heat the air in the ITCZ, raising its humidity and making it buoyant. This leads to the formation of heavy precipitation and frequent thunderstorms. The ITCZ plays a crucial role in redistributing heat around the Earth, influencing global atmospheric circulation, weather patterns, and the locations of deserts and rainforests. It moves north and south seasonally with the changing position of the thermal equator. El Niño is caused by periods of weaker, or stronger than average easterly trade winds, which allow warm surface waters to build up in the eastern Pacific, leading to increased rising air motion and above-average rainfall, initiating an El Niño event. The recent severe flooding in Kenya, which has killed over 120 people and displaced thousands, has been caused by unusually active El Niño rains. The warming of the ocean surface during El Niño allows moisture-rich air to rise and develop into rainstorms, leading to heavy rainfall and flooding in affected regions.
But then I've been very keen on a lot of Christmas movies. If you are watching Christmas movies in the festive season, you're going to realize that the central theme in these movies is all about people coming together and, forgiving each other, spreading some kindness. That's the general theme. And I understand that could be something cultural because the Westerns stay in the places where there's snow and everything. And us in Kenya, things are quite different. So can moods be affected by seasons?
Yes, in Kenya there's either a wet or dry season, a joyous summertime or a moody wet season. Located past the Tropic of Cancer, the Europeans experience winter through December, experiencing a winter solstice. A solstice is a time when the sun's apparent path is farthest north or south from the Earth's equator. During winter, the region north of the Tropic of Cancer have longer nights and shorter days, and winter solstice is characterized by when the sun is directly over the Tropic of Capricorn, typically ends around late December, shortly after the solstice itself. The specific date can vary slightly each year, but it commonly falls between December 20th and December 23rd in the Northern Hemisphere. During this period, the daylight hours are at their shortest, and the night is at its longest. That's to say that during winter there are shorter days and longer nights in regions north of the equator. In Kenya, during the winter solstice, the sun is further away from the equator, slightly affecting the days. This is because of the region being close to the equator. However, during the months of December and January, there is more sunlight in Nairobi to mean longer daytime and shorter nighttime. On the mood of residents of Kenya and those north of the Tropic of Cancer, Kenyans mark a transition to a dry season summertime through the months of December and January. Strangely enough, Kenyans don't enjoy the start of summer as much. This is because there's a culture of dreading the dry season to low supply of food and money. Hence, people become stressed and high on emotions. However, in Europe, America, and parts of Asia, during winter, the weather has likely been characterized by the crisp air, chilly temperatures, and perhaps a dusting of snow in certain areas. With increasing cold, the mood of the residents is more reflective and introspective. Residents of these regions become moody as the cold bites. But for them, after the winter solstice, December 23rd, the seasons gradually change to increasing warmth as spring starts. Traditionally, these post-solstice days are a time when communities in these regions adapt to the enduring winter conditions. The play of light against the winter sky can create breathtaking scenes, with the low sun casting long shadows and painting the world in hues of pink and gold. Also, with the promise of spring, the mood gradually changes to a happy mood as their days become longer and nights shorter.
When I look at Christmas, what I see is the snow. And I used to wonder, why doesn't snow fall in Kenya? And then now I realize there's the hot region around the equator. The ITCZ causes a lot of heat that we cannot get snow. And then, now as a cultural theme for the Westerns, during Christmas, it's so cold. It's so cold that they find it hard, to go out and do something. So in that moody environment, they need to, come together as a family as expressed in their movies. So this is a cultural thing for them. And towards spring or when January comes, we start to sing these games. People go out skiing. They go do some things with the ice. And then I love such sports because in my mind, I'm asking myself, is snow as cold as the ice we get from the fridge? Or is it something different? Because these people fall on the snow. And instead of, doing what we do when we put ice on our hands. These guys smile. You have to wonder, you have to wonder. But then in Kenya, the sun is out, and that's a mood on its own. It forces you, or it compels you to go out there and be happy. So the year is starting. You have your goals, you have your ambitions. Write them down and see what happens.